If you served this country during a time of war, you're over 65, and you're already getting a Social Security check every month, there is a second check with your name on it that the government is never going to call and offer you. It's tax-free. It can run to more than $2,400 a month, and you can collect it at the same time as your Social Security without $1 of it touching the other. Most veterans your age have never heard of it. The ones who have were told, flat out, that they made too much money to qualify. That was wrong. Stay with me, because the part that helps the most people comes at the very end, and it's the one almost nobody claims. This is a program called Aid in Attendance. It's run by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it's been sitting there for decades. I want to be clear right at the top about who this is for, because two different crowds talk themselves out of it before they ever pick up the phone. If you're a veteran who thinks pension benefits are only for the fellow who came home wounded, this is for you too. And if you're a veteran who's done all right for yourself, owns your home, has a little in the bank, and figures you're far too comfortable to ask the government for anything, keep listening. Because the way this program counts your money is not the way you think it does. Both of you have been leaving money on the table. And here's the part that surprises everyone the most, so I'll say it plainly. Your surviving spouse can get this too, even after you're gone. Widows, widowers, I'll come back to that, and it's the biggest one. Quick and honest note before we go any further. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not with the VA. I read the rules, so you don't have to squint at them, and I'll give you the exact form to take to someone who can sign off on your case. That's the deal. Now tell me down in the comments before we start. Did anyone at the VA ever actually explain this benefit to you? I'll bet the answer is no, and I want to see how many of you say the same thing. Let's kill the biggest myth first, because it's the one costing people the most. The myth is, I get Social Security, so I earn too much for a VA pension. I hear it constantly, and it comes from a real misunderstanding of how the VA does its math. Yes, your Social Security counts as income. So does a pension, an annuity, interest, all of it. But that's only half the equation. The VA doesn't look at the money coming in and stop there. It subtracts what you spend on your own care. Doctor visits, prescriptions, Medicare premiums coming straight out of your check, a home health aid, assisted living, all of it comes off the top. What's left after that subtraction is the only number the VA actually judges you on. They call it your countable income. And for a lot of seniors, once you take real medical costs off a Social Security check, that countable number drops like a stone. Let me make that real. Say you and your wife bring in $4,000 a month between your two Social Security checks and a small pension. On paper, that sounds like too much. But say one of you now needs help. An aid a few days a week, assisted living, the medications stack up, and you're spending $3,000 a month on that care. The VA doesn't see $4,000. It sees what's left after the care. Suddenly, you're not the person who earns too much. You're exactly the person this was built for. Same income on paper. Completely different answer once the rules actually run. So what is the benefit worth? Let's talk real 2026 numbers, and these are the current figures, effective from December 1st of last year. A wartime veteran with no spouse or dependents who qualifies for aid and attendance can receive up to $29,093 a year. Break that down, and it's a little over $2,400 a month. A veteran with one dependent, most often a spouse, can receive up to $34,488 a year. That's over $2,800 a month, tax-free. You will not pay a dime of federal income tax on it, and you don't report it as income the way you report other things. Now hold that number next to your Social Security check, because here's the whole point of today. This is the second myth, and it's the good one. People assume that if the government hands you a benefit here, it must claw something back over there. That one check must cancel out the other. It doesn't. Aid and attendance is a separate pot of money run by an entirely separate agency. Your Social Security comes from the Social Security Administration. Your aid and attendance comes from the VA. They are two completely different things, from two different desks, and neither one is looking to punish you for having the other. Your Social Security does not shrink because you claimed aid and attendance. And your aid and attendance is not denied just because you get Social Security. It's only counted as part of that income math I just walked you through, the one that lets you subtract your care costs right back off. So picture it stacked. Your Social Security check lands on the first of the month, same as always, and then this second, tax-free VA payment lands on top of it. For the right veteran, that's the difference between watching every dollar and actually breathing again. Now let me answer the question you're already asking. Do I even qualify? There are 3 doors you have to walk through, and none of them are as hard as people fear. The first is service. You need at least 90 days of active duty, with at least one of those days falling inside a wartime period that Congress has set. Notice what that does not say. It does not say you were wounded. It does not say you saw combat. It does not even say you left the country. 1 day of your service just had to land inside a war era. Vietnam, Korea, World War II, the Gulf War, which runs from August of 1990 right up to today. If you wore the uniform during one of those windows, that door is open. The second door is the one that trips up the people who own a home and have savings, so listen closely. There's a net worth limit, and for this year it's $163,699. That's the ceiling on your assets plus your income, combined. But, and this is enormous, your house does not count. The home you live in, and up to 2 acres of land it sits on, is excluded entirely. Your car doesn't count. Your furniture, your personal belongings, none of it counts. So the veteran who says, "I could never qualify, I own my house," your house was never in the math to begin with. Take the home out, and a lot of people who assumed they were over the line are comfortably under it. The third door is the reason it's called aid and attendance in the first place. You need to genuinely need help bathing or dressing or feeding yourself, being stuck in bed a good part of the day from illness, living in a nursing home because of a disability, or your eyesight being very limited. If day-to-day life has gotten hard and you lean on someone, or you're paying for that help, you meet this one. And here's a piece almost no one tells you. Once you're 65, you don't have to prove you're totally and permanently disabled to get the underlying pension the way a younger veteran does. Age 65 is the line. Cross it, and the VA stops demanding you prove your disability just to open the door. That is a gift written right into the rules, and hardly anyone knows it's there. Let me bring this down to one real person, because the numbers can go blurry. Think of a widower. I'll call him a Vietnam-era veteran, 78, living alone in a house he paid off years ago. His Social Security is around $1,800 a month. On paper, too much for a needs-based benefit, and that's exactly what a neighbor told him, so he never applied. But his health slipped. He started paying an aide to come 3 mornings a week, plus his Medicare premiums, plus the medications. Real money, every single month, coming off the top. When someone finally ran his countable income the right way, income minus all that care, he wasn't over the line at all. He qualified for aid and attendance on top of the Social Security he was already getting. Same man, same house, same check he'd had all along. The only thing that changed was that somebody finally did the math the way the VA actually does it. He wasn't gaming anything. He was claiming something he'd earned in a uniform 50 years ago. Now here's the reveal I promised you at the start, the one that reaches the most people and gets claimed the least. This benefit does not die with the veteran. If you served during wartime and you've passed, your surviving spouse can apply for a version of this in their own name. It's called the Survivor's Pension with Aid and Attendance. For this year, a surviving spouse who needs that daily help can receive up to $18,697 a year, tax-free in their own right. That's more than $1,500 a month for a widow or widower living alone on a shrinking fixed income. Think about who that is. It's the wife who spent decades beside a man who served, now on her own, watching every dollar. It's the husband whose wife wore the uniform. The VA is never going to knock on that door. The spouse has to know to ask. So if you are that surviving spouse, or you love one, this is the single most important thing in this whole video. You may have a tax-free check waiting that no one has ever mentioned to you. All right, let me give you the exact steps, so this doesn't stay a nice idea you forget by dinner. To get aid and attendance added on, there's a specific form. It's VA Form 21-2680. The full name is the Examination for Housebound Status or Permanent Need for Regular Aid and Attendance. Here's the catch on that one. A doctor has to fill out the medical part. So the move is simple. Print it, take it to your physician at your next visit, and have them complete the examination section. That form is what proves the third door, the need for help door. If you're applying for the pension itself for the first time, you'll pair it with the main pension application, and you can start the whole thing online, by mail to your regional VA pension center, or in person at a VA office. And write this number down because it's the one that gets you a real human. 1-800-827-1000. That's the VA benefits line. 1-800-827-1000. Call it, tell them you're a wartime veteran, you're over 65, and you want to apply for pension with aid and attendance. Say those words by name. Don't wait for them to guess what you're after. And if the paperwork feels like a mountain, your county veteran service officer will help you file it for free. That's their entire job, and it costs you nothing. Let me pull it all together. 3 myths, gone. You do not earn too much just because you get Social Security. They subtract your care costs first. Claiming this does not touch your Social Security check. 2 separate agencies, 2 separate pots, stacked one on top of the other. And owning your home does not disqualify you. Your house was never counted. 3 doors, wartime service, a net worth limit that leaves your home out, and a genuine need for help that gets easier to prove the day you turn 65. One form, 1-2680, signed by your doctor. One phone number that reaches a person, and one reveal that matters most. A surviving spouse can claim this in their own name, up to more than $18,000 a year, tax-free, long after the veteran is gone. The veterans and the spouses who collect this aren't luckier than you. They aren't better connected. They're just the ones who found out it existed and picked up the phone. You paid into this the hard way, in a uniform during a war. It is not charity, and it is not a handout. It is yours. So do one thing for me. Send this to one veteran over 65, or one widow, or one widower. The person you thought of the second I said the word spouse. That share might be the most valuable thing you do for someone this year. If this opened your eyes, a like helps me get it in front of more veterans who've been told no, and subscribing to channel name keeps these in your feed. And tell me down below, are you a veteran, a spouse, or watching this for a parent? I read the comments, and I want to know who I'm reaching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one right here on channel name.